Double bubble, toil and trouble, Channel 31 and struggle, stupid bits and random news, Melbourne slobs and Carlton blooms, log lines, headlines, slander, fart, and now it's time our show to start. Good evening, I'm your host Laura and welcome to The Struggle. On tonight's program, landlords renting, tariff trouble and Bobo and thirst traps. But first, with the 48-hour countdown now on until Wednesday's second meeting of Australia's sharpest political minds, we at The Struggle want to recap the first bout. The leaders' debate had varying winners depending on whether you like facts or Herald Sun reporting. In the name of balance, Wednesday's debate will be hosted by the socialist pigs at the ABC, while round one was held behind the democratic vanguard of a Sky News paywall. Our two glorious leaders went head-to-head in a charm and policy offensive to try and turn an audience of undecided voters. The clash between the two identically dressed, bespectacled, stale, pale male Gen Xers made for glorious television. Having reportedly warmed up with Daniel Andrews prior to the debate, the PM was primed with Bill Shorten-esque zingers, the spiciest of which was...
Well, the only gas policy that the Coalition have is the gaslighting of the Australian public.
Within an hour, official Labor social accounts were peddling a similar message.
The gaslighting of the Australian public.
Gaslighter, denier, doing anything to get your ass farther.
Authorised P. Erickson, ALP Canberra.
Will this new girl boss campaign strategy stick for Labor? Only time and tea will tell. As the election looms, we know politicians are scrambling to win over young voters. But are any of us actually listening? While traditional media struggles to find an audience, podcasts seem to be taking the lead. We told you last week how Abby Chatfield was cleared of wrongdoing by the AEC. This week, she has further backed herself as a politi influencer by releasing a podcast with Senator Jackie Lambie. Are political podcasts the hot new trend? Let's see for ourselves. We have Hot Poll, a podcast hosted by two self-proclaimed hot girls who are ditching legacy media and nightly news in favour of ice matches, mic'd up chaos and hot or not.
We're just two hot girls talking about hot girl shit like boys, babes and bras.
Matcha lattes and hot girl walks.
But this week with the federal election like literally just over there, we think politics are hot.
Girl, did Dutton ever get back to you?
No girls, such a shame. I reached out to him and the PM and neither of them got back to us.
Ugh, men. I thought since the AEC cleared Abby or whatever that they'd want a bite of the action. Whatever. We're girls anyway. Jackie Lambie, hit us up.
I was low-key hoping they'd get back to us though. Podcasts with politicians are so hot right now.
Literally so influential. Who reads the newspaper anymore?
Boomers, lol. Did you actually hear that this year is the first year that Gen Z and millennials will outnumber the boomers in the voting polls?
Oh my god, slay! Isn't there a whole other generation in there?
Girl, I don't think so. Wait. Are our parents boomers?
Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen Alpha. Girl, I was never good at math.
Me either, girl. Who cares about the alphabet anyway? For now, let's play Hot or Not, but politics edition. And this week, politics is so hot for the girls.
What, like Peter Dutton finally discovering feminism?
Whoa. He sacked one sexist candidate. Feminism, a bit of a stretch.
True, but either way, calling out misogyny is hot. What about Pauline Hanson recruiting her daughter into One Nation instead of her son?
Nepo baby, kinda hot.
Oh my god, she'll be like the Senate's Paris Hilton. Hot, but even still, I think that's gotta be a not from me. Anything Pauline Hanson related is
not hot. But facts, while we're still chatting about the girls, how hot is Albo funding women's health?
Literally hot AF, and the Libs matched it.
double hot.
But if it's just another one-off budget sprinkle, it's giving fake friend energy.
Or it's giving man who can't keep his promises energy and man that would let me down again energy.
What about Dutton backflipping on the whole public service card? Kinda hot?
Look, it's hot for the public servants, but not for him. Classic men. Seriously, saying one thing and doing another, or in this case, dangling threats and then revoking them when we fight back. It's giving gaslighter.
Oh my god, and the whole work from home thing? Hot, not hot? They keep changing their minds. I literally can't keep up.
I mean, it's 2025. If I can't log on from bed, go get myself a matcha, go to my Pilates class, and then get back home in time for my 2 p.m. meeting, I mean, I'm not working there.
Real. Okay, last one. Politics in podcast.
Wow. To catch more episodes from our steamy duo, subscribe to their Spotify Hot Poll Poddy. Now, let's continue with our political talks with blasts from the past. Politics seems to run in the family for some, with multiple generations stepping into the limelight. Our investigative team uncovered a preview of Channel 31's new show, Where Did They Come From? Not at all dissimilar to the SBS program, but dives into the forgotten past of political families. Let's roll the tape.
Throughout history, there have been many influential political families, dynasties, if you will. Kennedys, Rockefellers. Across the Atlantic, we have Mussolini and Maloney, personal favourites of mine. But today, I've got something special. Some of Australia's political dynasties lie within these pages, frozen in time. Let's have a look and find out. Who do they think they are? Our first family is not exactly a political dynasty, but they have been massively influential. Lang Hancock, pictured here, lobbied against government mining restrictions and held very strong conservative views, especially towards First Nation Australians.
I would dope the water up so that they were sterile and would breed themselves out in the future, and that would solve the problem.
He also began the Sunday Independent newspaper with his business partner Peter Wright. Below Lang, we have his daughter Gina. Like her father, she also opposed government restrictions on mining and, no surprise, doesn't believe in climate change. Gina is a force to be reckoned with and is now Australia's richest person. Now here's a family that causes a bit of controversy. Pauline Hanson is the leader of Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party. She has multiple iconic moments, but the original and the best line was one that was brought to us from 60 Minutes reporter Tracy Kuro.
Are you xenophobic? Please explain.
Lee Hanson is Pauline's daughter and has just announced she'll be her mother's replacement when the One Nation leader retires. It seems there's a bit of a nepotism theme going on in these dynasties. Oh, sorry. I just read that it's not actually nepotism because Pauline didn't pick any of her sons, just her daughter. Shall we move on? Our final family is the Hamer family. Rupert Hamer was the 39th Premier of our great state of Victoria, and for about a decade was the most famous for his work in developing our arts centre. In fact, after his departure as Premier, the 3,000-seat Hamer Hall was named in his honour. Beside him is his great niece Amelia, who is running in this year's federal election for the Liberal Party. She has caused quite a stir recently, including having her great uncle's personal friend and billionaire trucking magnate Lindsay Fox promote her campaign. What I find rather interesting about this piece of family history is that Fox has always described himself as neither Labor nor Liberal, just Australian. And there it is, the Australian political dynasties. My, what a fascinating and extraordinary connections and stories we have uncovered. Mates, friends and family. What a lovely way to run a democracy.
It's time for some ads. Please enjoy. Hey, my partner and I saw you from across the room and we really liked your vibe. While I've got you here, let's talk props. They're the backbone of every all-girls school production of The Crucible and the undoing of all community TV budgets. But to Australian politicians, they're an important tool in holding the attention of the TikTok-brained masses. We have an exclusive scoop with an inside source on the rise of these attention-grabbing gadgets.
It's really hard being a politician. I only signed up for this job after I won Best Speaker in a Year 9 debate tournament and naturally assumed that Earth would cease turning without my opinions. Now we're in an election campaign. Us politicians are dealing with being watched 24/7. We make a single mistake and a bunch of 20-year-old wannabe journalists bully us on community television. Once, politicians wrote speeches, but in 2017, when Pauline proved her own point wrong by not getting kicked out of Parliament for rocking a burqa, she hurled that burqa into the open Senate chamber. And as if in protest, our nation's tolerance for sitting through boring speeches promptly hurled itself right out of Australian politics behind it. Now we just hoist in enormous props to really shove the messages down the throats of voters. They're gonna put dental into Medicare. Get it? Ew, smells like old fish in there.
Stinking extinction salmon.
Julia Gillard would not be lectured about misogyny by this man. But what about this one? The Redfern Address taught us that if we can imagine injustice, we can imagine its opposite. But name a better demonstration of injustice than these pigs calling out the supermarket duopoly. And God save Australia's fossil fuel industry, because nothing will save the Greens' naggy renewables policy. 3 years ago, Albanese thanked his lucky coin for winning him the election. And who knows, maybe in a few weeks, he'll be thanking his lucky Medicare card. Isn't he cute?
So cute! What are we supposed to do with all these sardines now? Maybe our next correspondent will take them? US President Donald Trump may have paused his global tariffs over 10% in a bid to dodge a recession, but what good is that to the penguins of McDonald Island? Trump subjected the island, inhabited by only penguins and yet to be touched by an industrial revolution, to tariffs equivalent to those inflicted on Australia. With Trump's tariff threshold now revised to 10%, except for you, China, neither Australia nor McDonald Island will receive a reprieve. To explore this geopolitical issue, we made contact with the most financially literate penguin we could find to help us hapless humans make sense of these global financial maneuvers.
The word of the week.
Tariff.
But does anyone know what a tariff actually is? I myself, the financially literate penguin, am completely across tariffs. But for all of you non-financially non-literate non-penguins, here's how it works. A tariff is a tax that is paid to the government on imported goods by the importer from a foreign country. Donald Trump has recently announced a baseline 10% tariff on just about anyone who has anything to do with the trade of goods internationally. Trump has introduced this policy to counteract what he sees as unfair trade practices and to increase the value of the American dollar. Often imposed to protect domestic industries and consumers, there are a few side effects of these tariffs that are worrying Australians. Tariffs influence people to buy local, but for businesses that rely on imported goods, this increases production costs, reducing margins for profit. For publicly listed companies, this decreases the faith of investors and can lead to a phenomenon called panic selling, which is what we're seeing now. The tech sector has taken quite the hit. Apple, for instance, lost around $775 billion by market close on the 7th of April after dropping more than 5% earlier in the day. Fortescue, an Australian mining company, saw its share price drop around 5% when compared to its closing share price last week. And my parents' superannuation has dropped so much, they're telling me that I'm gonna have to bring home the sardines for them to survive in their old age. Laura, I will take those sardines, thanks. And all I have to say is it was a ballsy move to tariff my flock on McDonald Island. We will be letting our fellow constituents in the North Pole know immediately. So don't be surprised if you wake up to a lump of coal on Christmas this year, Donnie.
So often it's the words of a penguin that make the most complicated things seem so simple. We'll switch things up now from a penguin talking people to a person talking pests. Last week, environmentalists and sociopaths finally had something to celebrate together, as the ABC reported a government-sanctioned sniper team had shot and killed more than 60 feral cats this year alone. Joining me in studio now is invasive species expert Sheila Balanitis. Now Sheila, I understand there may be a few more invaders to worry about than just these feral felines.
Oh Laura Dale, you're absolutely right. There's never been a worse time to be a destructive invasive species here in Australia. We've had issues here managing non-native populations of all kinds since 1788, but real progress has been made with certain species in the past few months. Starting up here in New South Wales, like you said, Laura, the state government's specialist hunting team has culled more than 400 feral cats since launching their project in October last. Your average feral cat in the bush kills more than 700 individual native species a year, meaning the sniper squad has already effectively saved more than 280,000 animal lives across the state national parks. Now, if you're more of a bloodless killing aficionado, then what we've got up north is sure to wake up your wantonness. Queensland's toad affliction is well established, so it was huge news when Macquarie University's Playing God division last week announced it had successfully engineered a new type of cannibal tadpole. These non-evolving invertebrates are designed to eat 3 times as many toad tadpole eggs as their unedited cousins, meaning that like the Queensland Senate before them, these Sunshine State crones may just vote themselves out of their very existence. Let's finish our wrathful whip around back home here in Victoria, where feral deer populations have grown to more than 1 million, spreading 40% of the state since the 1980s. Victoria is the only mainland state where you need a licence to shoot deer, despite major government efforts to cull the ballooning population. Putting a deer in the bush has a similar effect on the environment as pooing in a salad spinner does to your kitchen. Everything just goes to a bad place. But it's not just deer we Victorians have to worry about though. Local groups have fought an ongoing battle against a particularly insidious pest for the last 200 or so years. But that's all I've got for you this week though, Laura, so thanks again for letting me indoors. Back to you.
Lock the door behind you when you leave, please. Hopefully that's the last we'll hear from her for a while. Someone else it is time we heard from is our own fructose friend Yadini, who this week has dove onto the fruitful vine of grape production.
With the Australian dollar decreasing by the minute, Australia needs to find creative ways to diversify their market. It's our farmers quietly leading the fight to save us from the money drought, finding ways to satisfy Australia's appetites with new, carefully crafted grape flavours. Say hello to Crispy Dreams, Cool Grape, and Ruby Rush, which are a part of the range of 15 new flavours on your supermarket shelves, doing battles with apples, bananas, and oranges to make it into your shopping basket. These varieties are developed by international breeders. Sometimes it takes them over a decade to develop the flavour, and sure, Australian farmers do have to pay a hefty licence fee to grow them here. Does this count as stealing? Okay, so these developed grape species are much more expensive than your garden variety green grapes. But with the Australian dollar plunging to its lowest point since April 2020, what a great time to stretch out your vines and spoil yourself with fruit you can't really afford. The sharply lower Australian dollar isn't as low as my chance to afford electricity, groceries, and a birthday present for my grandma this year. But who needs to worry about the dollar when you can buy 100 grams of genetically enhanced fruit 10 to 20% sweeter, and again, less healthy, to help you tune out the squalor. We may not be able to make a grape escape from Australia's rotting economy, but edible escapism is all we've got left. Make Australia grape again.
Don't have to tell me twice. While I sit back and enjoy the fruits of my intern's labour, you sit back and enjoy these ads.
Hi, I'm with the Special Procreation Empowerment Rights for Men movement. And did you know that men also have a biological clock? And no, I didn't say biological cock. Research has shown that men's sperm quality can decline with age, increasing the risk of neonatal problems. If you have a male partner under the age of 30, please listen to the following message.
Please save our seed.
Fertility rate is already on a downward spiral. Combine that with problematic propagation, and it's going to spell disaster. Look, I know that our lifestyle choices contribute much more to fertility complications than our aging, but the economy is in shambles right now. You cannot expect us to give up drugs, alcohol, smoking, and steroids. It's not our fault. Our bodies are as fragile as our nards. It's another burden we have to carry, but we can take it. Unlike our nuts, our egos are ironclad. So if you want your future baby to be as flawless as we are right now, you have to act fast. Visit our website www.sperm.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to tonight's program. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank our longtime sponsors at sperm.com for their unwavering support across this season. Whether you're in the market for some new offspring or just looking to build up your own stockpile, you can rest assured that the sperm you want can be found at the price you need from all locations with returns and exchanges available. Spluttering on now to one story that's less about sperm and more about mums trying to get some, Bailey joins me at the desk to talk about Robert Irwin.
Australia's favourite family, the Irwins, are making headlines again this week. And not because a bloke was stabbed by an animal, but rather was caught posing with one. Last week, Steve's little boy was snapped posing for Bond's undies. The young gun Robert Irwin has been found ditching his blonde bowl cut and khakis for a set of cum gutters and a pair of jocks which appear to be used for smuggling cockatoos. These photos have been making waves across the internet, getting mums around the country dripping at the loins and young depressed men waiting for him to drop his workout routine. Now, I don't know about you, Laura, but my mum's been getting pretty flustered by our boy Rob. There's this beautiful irony that once upon a time, Mum would sit my little brothers down in front of his show, Wild But True, and now she's getting a bit horny about the idea of getting wild with who? Who else but the sexy zookeeper who is younger than most of her kids. Let me just remind you, Rob wasn't around for 9/11, but this isn't stopping the rampaging pride of cougars who want nothing more than to be caged up in his enclosure. But not everyone is happy about the response to these posts. Radio presenter Lucy Zelich called out the comments as deeply hypocritical, maintaining that if a man were to comment something as vulgar onto a woman's post, they would most likely be cancelled. Now, this is a topic enveloped in nuance and societal ideologies, which I can't properly comment on in the 30 seconds I have left at this desk. But what I can comment on is the thriving copycat scene which has spawned from the shoot. From other zookeepers to bakers, blokes have been bearing their bonds, posing with animals in their dacks, and it's got me thinking, maybe the struggle could do with some sex appeal. So, I've brought my little friend Moo Moo here, and I thought the show could do with a little bit of...
Australian summer. Bindies in your feet, a steering wheel so hot it gives you blisters, and for a lot of people, music festivals. Yet with cost of living challenges and finding artists to play down under, festivals are sadly in decline. So we were wondering, who do Australians want in their summertime set list? Alyssa went to a true muso mothership to find out.
Who wouldn't enjoy standing in a field filled with enough ketamine to kill 10 Clydesdales and the scent of tobacco? Who wouldn't enjoy paying $14 for a drink when you already paid hundreds to get in?
I've spent $19 on a single can of drink and it was atrocious.
Who wouldn't enjoy sweltering heat and being packed in the mosh like sardines? And that's why we love music festivals in Australia. The beauty of the great outdoors and of course the music. Seeing your favourite artists, hearing them play your favourite songs live makes it all worth it. And of course, the bragging rights of saying you saw them live. In the past few years, Australian festival goers are asking, has the music died?
It really depends on who is playing at these festivals. I mean, they'll still cancel it.
Looking at what we have left, artists that couldn't bear to come here, and one-day festivals where we can barely keep the lineup together. Australian festivals are beginning to look like a mockery against our petulant bigger brother, America. We all know it, we all hate it, Coachella. Seeing your favourite influencers see your favourite artists, while our live music lineup could never match up to their home field advantage. So if we could have it our way, burnt in the sun and moshing, who would revive Australian music festivals to retaliate against our Yankee siblings?
I'd love to see Sleep Token.
Van Halen.
Oh, Queen.
Prince for sure.
Slipknot. Korn. Malice.
And would it ever be possible? It might not be geographical barriers, but living barriers that stop these artists from coming to Australia.
From one event that people flock to another, a Minecraft movie. We got a sneak peek into a Struggle exclusive panel review to see what they thought about it.
What did you guys think of the Minecraft movie?
It
was amazing. I mean, one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, look, it really surprised me. It had its ups and downs for sure, but I was shocked to see that it already made $310 million in its opening weekend.
Of course it did. The movie is a cinematic masterpiece. I have never seen anything like it ever before. The experience of watching it in cinemas was electrifying. The crowd went crazy.
Yeah, look, the memes that led up to this movie definitely fueled its popularity. It got so bad that multiple screenings were paused or had the police called and one of the lines from the trailer was spoken. I remember in my cinema, every time one of those lines was said, the cinema erupted into cheers and applause.
That's unfortunate for all the parents. I imagine, they come in after being nagged by their kids and then suddenly you've got popcorn being thrown at the screen because Jack Black said, "Chicken Jackie."
Yeah. Look, the film was still pretty funny. Sitting there with your friends or eating the Minecraft movie meal, something I'll never forget. Movie had a lot of nice references.
It only has a 48% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
So, the movie is for the fans, not the critics. Every Minecraft fan should love this movie more than they love their own family. I mean, it had mining and it had crafting. What more could you want?
Don't forget about Jack Black. Love the scenes. I don't think I'll ever get that Lava Chicken song out of my head. Sasha, what do you think?
Yeah, it was alright. I liked it.
Yeah, whatever, I'll let everyone else enjoy it, but I think the movie was a terrible adaptation of Minecraft. First of all, I could go about this all day. Blocks, they are 1 meter cubed, we all know this. Secondly, Steve looks absolutely nothing like Jack Black, you can't even compare the two. Third of all, circles aren't allowed in Minecraft. So, if you want to understand what the fuss for the video game is about, don't go watching the movie. You gotta watch someone play it or play it yourself. This is just a monstrosity. I can't believe it.
Have you even seen the movie?
No!
Then what are you doing here? How can you be talking
The movie is a betrayal of Minecraft.
And with that, let's leave those sweaty nerds to bicker over a children's movie. Because it's time for us to go. The struggle. It's real.
I'll skip my head here. Let me know when you want me to go.
I need to go. This is hard.
This week, Laura and Leo's species reports. Thanks for letting me indoors.
And let's hope that next time he plays SpongeBob.
Fuck yeah.
Are you stupid? But you're not even watching the game. You're not even beginning to watch it.
I said the F word.
Welcome back to tonight's program. We'd like to take this opportunity to